Hey there everybody, and welcome back. For those of you that are interested in creating your own fitness app, but you don't know where to start and you don't want to pay any money, stay tuned. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a completely free fitness app for Android or iOS or as a standard web app. Now you can use this to create an app for fitness instructions or weightlifting routines or nutrition, just whatever you think is best for you. So here's kind of a sample of what we'll be working on today. Now before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. And one other thing to cover as a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to be responsible for however anyone uses the content of this video. This is a nutrition and fitness app. So whether you need a certification or specific degrees or whatever local laws, rules, regulations, guidelines, etc. that you need to follow, make sure you're looking into that and following those so you're not breaking any laws or you're not holding yourself liable. And again, I'm not liable for how you use this. Now, let's go ahead and jump straight in. So first things first, this is using a free platform called Appgyver, which lets you use a drag and drop style interface to create a mobile application. I'm going to put a link in the description to a more in-depth series I have on creating a social/sharing app. I'll reference that because that's also going to contain a video which is going to walk you through how to publish the app to Google Play, just so I don't have to keep re-recording. But I'm going to walk you through creating the app itself. So first things first, go to Appgyver and set up your account. It'll take about 5 minutes, no credit card needed, it's completely free. Then you'll go to your project dashboard and we're going to start off by clicking Create New. Now what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to jump between the two that I have. So project name, we're just going to put test, just because I'm only going to start off with this project and I'll slowly transition into the next one. So first thing is we're going to drop into the Appgyver dashboard. If you haven't been following my channel, I'll give you a quick walkthrough. The top left, you have your page view just by clicking on this expand button. And then you have your components here. So when I say drag and drop, I literally mean you drag and drop, and the components are put on the page. So you have your components here, and there's a component market to search for more content. In the middle is your UI or user interface. This is essentially what your app is going to look like, although it won't function as intended because this is the builder, not the preview. Down here, you have your logic. So anytime you select a component, the logic appears down here. So for example, if you want this button to take you to a page, you would drag over the open page. You'll simply connect and then choose the page that this goes to. Now, what I'm going to be showing you in the next page, I'll walk you through how I built. It's pretty simple and we'll walk through the rest of it together. I wanted to get a head start just so we could kind of speed things up. So your default page, you'll click on the component and over here in the content, you just click. And then you would delete this text and type in whatever it is you want it to be. So we'll just put test here. And then you can change the style and go to typography. And here you can change the text alignment, the font, colors, size, etc. There's a ton of options there. You can then select the next option and do the same thing. I want to note that the page tree over here will do the same thing. And if you want to change your background color, you simply select page layout, and then your style options are there as well. So for this page that I have here, what I did was I changed the page background color. So you go to page layout, and then you can go to advanced if you want to see advanced options there. But essentially what I did was I selected this background color option, and I chose a color here using these drag and drop sliders. And then I dragged over a couple of cards just like this. And then the last thing that I did, I navigated to unsplash.com. This is where you can get a lot of really cool, really high resolution images. And these are essentially Creative Commons images. Basically, most if not all of these pictures can be used for whatever commercial use you want. Now, just double check and make sure when you're grabbing images that you can use these images and you have the rights to use them in whatever capacity you're trying to use them. Now, if you want to use an image, you simply click on an image and you have two choices. First, if it's a premium image, you would pay for it and then you would download, or you can simply right click and then there is an option to copy image address. you have these two choices here. Now, if you decide that you want to copy the image address, then it copies the URL where the image is located. If you download the file, it's basically hard coding that into your application. Either way, the image will show up in these tiles here. So here's what we started off with. We selected the card. We're going to click Properties. You can change the title, and then you can change this little paragraph text down here. And then if you want to customize it further, you click on the little pencil, and you can click on Title, and you can click on Style. And it'll give you a more detailed menu for the title to change the colors and things of that nature. And then you can do the same for the paragraph and slide down to typography, choose your customization options there, and then you can typically just double click anywhere on the page to exit that menu. Now the last thing, every time you make changes, I highly recommend saving, but in order to exit out of a page, you need to save your changes as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cover just adding an image to this before we create a new page. I'll make all of this rope in together in a second. So if you want to hard code the image, on the right here, you can upload a file. On the left here, you can choose the image location. Now, here's where things are going to get a little tricky. Do you want the image to be hard coded in the app? If so, your app size is going to increase, and there are max sizes for applications. Unsplash has some very high quality images, which is great, but they're much larger. So if you're going to put hundreds and hundreds of pictures, you're probably going to want to have URLs stored, which you can actually use a database like Firebase, which is free. And I'll walk you through in that series that I'm going to be putting in the description below. There is a way to store URLs. That way you don't have to create an update for the app every time. So here's the best way to explain this. If you want content to appear in the app, potentially load a little bit quicker, the image would be built in. However, if you want to save some size for your file and make your app a little bit smaller, then you would basically store the URL. Now, if you're using these options and you're not storing it and sending and receiving via an API, which I cover in that series, essentially what this means is if you want to change any of this, you're going to have to publish an update to Google Play or the Apple App Store or whatever the case is. So that can get a little annoying if you make one mistake and you decide, oh wait, I needed this image was a different size or something like that. You're going to have to republish it as opposed to storing those URLs on something like Firebase and just going into Firebase and making the change real fast. But we'll save that for another time. So for now, we're just going to click on Content. We will click in Formula. And then we're going to go to Unsplash and let's just find an image that we like. So let's see. One that I used in another page is this set of dumbbells here. And then you can simply right click and click on Copy Image Address. When you go over here, in between the double quotes, you'll just paste in the address, click Save, and you'll see it'll render right here. And then you would want to change the text. I would recommend light text on dark backgrounds or dark text on light backgrounds just to make it show up. And then you would follow this for all of the other cards. Now, here's how we get into the customization piece. If you are interested in creating this as your home page, you could have all of your cards or all of your buttons here that link to other pages. Or you could have a home page that has fitness and then nutrition and then something else. So, for example, if you wanted, you could select right here. And then this could be to your workouts. And then this could maybe be to nutrition. Again, very, very tricky because if you're not a nutritionist, if you don't have the right certifications and degrees, it gets into a weird area. So I used to have my personal training certification. I do not have it any longer, which means that there are some liability issues if I were to try to train people, which is why I don't. So we have this set up, and then we would set up pages from here. So if you want to set up a page, you click in the top left, click Add New Page, and then you would type in the name of the page, so we could put workouts and OK. And then your new page is created. Then you go through the process of customizing this. So my recommendation is have a default home page and then basically set it up however you see fit. So if this was your home page, and then you had workouts and nutrition, maybe the workouts page would take you to something like this. Welcome to the program. Pick your plan below to get started. Or it would have a nutrition page, and each one of these cards would take you to a page with different information. Maybe you want to teach people about carbs, fat, and protein, or maybe you want to teach about micronutrients. You can work through that. So to link pages to cards, you simply select the card, click Show Logic, drag over Open Page, and then you connect it. What this does is this says when this is tapped, do this. And then you're just going to go to Page, and you will tell it, take the user to this page. You click Save and Save. And then the application is essentially set up, or this is saved in the background. So let's now transition over to the app that I already have set up. So we have the background color changed, we have some small changes to the text, and then we have 3 cards. So from here, you decide what is next. So for me, I would decide on what workout plans I want to have, or maybe I want to add different features to make this look a little bit more custom. So for example, if you want to have an option for people to enter in weight to get their weight specific routines. Maybe someone weighs X amount and they want to get down to X amount. You have options to add in things like this drop down field, or maybe you want to add a slider and they can select. Now I prefer the drop down personally. So if you wanted, you could drop this in, go over to properties, and you could say enter your weight. Or for something like this, it would probably be select your weight. And then you would go to options list, add value, and then you could maybe say 0 to 100, and the value is 100. And then you can add another value and say 101 to 200, and then 200. Now the reason I would be a little nervous to do it pound by pound is when you're doing something like that, you're going to have to create potentially pages for each individual option. But you would have the option to go through that and then check your label values and set up what this dropdown does. If you have a question about any of the components, feel free to look into Appgyver's forum. They have tons of amazing content to walk you through how to use a lot of these features. Now, what I've done for these 3 pages, each one of these links to a different page. So these 3 cards, for example, this one right here, I just typed in 2-week shred, click here to get ripped in 2 weeks. Here's the background image. And then when you click Show Logic, it just takes you to the page 2 weeks. And then that's where you would have your 2-week workout. So let's go ahead and create that 2-week workout. This is something I was starting to work on, and I'm going to walk you through how I got this set up. So these are obviously 3 cards that we've been using. So what we would do is you have your default title, your default paragraph, which I just edited by selecting and going over here and changing the text. But you also have these options here. So what I did to create these options was I added in rows. So if you drag over a row, and sometimes when you drag it, if you let go too quickly, it doesn't populate. So now that we've added this row, you can click on Style, and you can add another cell. What rows are essentially is multiple containers side by side. So this means you can house content or components within this row. So here's an example. Maybe you want to add a checkbox here saying, hey, I've done this. And then you want to have a paragraph here and then a paragraph here. What this would look like is you would essentially just type in done, and then they would click here to check, and you have to make sure that the settings are set up to actually put that as a check mark. You could put whatever the workout is or whatever the day of the week is, the number of sets. It's entirely up to you how this is built. So my first impression or my first thought was maybe it would be best to create it day by day. Now, if you're ever stuck and kind of getting lost on the page, you can always check this tree and expand, which is what I love about containers. You can name the container, and then you can either choose to click it and remove all the items within, or however you feel is best to use that. Now, if your page starts to look a little clunky, you can bring over these dividers and split things up. Now, another thing I love about containers is if you select the container, you can hit Control-C, you'll see component copied, or you can select something like, I think it's Command-C on a Mac, and then you just hit Control-V, and it pastes it below, and then you can simply select the info and change the content. So you could have, this is Monday, you could repeat this, so basically you would just keep going with what we just did. So maybe you want this container below the divider. You can do this from in the tree and move it below the divider here. And now this would essentially be Tuesday. And then you would repeat the process. Now, if you want to check on scrolling features, you have two options. If you click on the page layout, you can go up here to Style, and there's an advanced option. And you have the disable scrolling, and you also have scroll view. So what I've done for apps in the past is I've dropped a scroll view up at the top, and I've put all the content on the page within the scroll view. And then what you can do is you can go to Style, and you can change the dimensions, and you can actually remove the padding so that it stretches to the full size of the screen. So you'll see here when we go to padding, you can change all of this if you're interested, and just change how the padding is set up. And then you would be able to put all the content within that scroll view. It's the same thing as a container, but my understanding is it allows for scrolling. So containers, you simply click an item and drag it in, and now this is within that container. Containers are also a great way to add spacing, so you can space content out. And when you select the container, you can change the padding to make it wider or skinnier. Now, if you want to add, let's just say, I think I saw someone mention, how do I add page breaks? You can just drag in a new paragraph. That's often the easiest route. It is going to act, drop that in the wrong spot. It's often going to act essentially as your page break. So you can, if it looks like it's not close enough, go to Style, and then you can go to Dimensions and Position, and this is where you can change the padding to get it a little bit closer so that it looks like a page break. So that covers our 2-week shred plan. So you have cards here, you can drag in images or spinners or whatever it is you want, and then this is essentially set up. Now, if you want a login page, the series that I'm going to reference and put in the description also has kind of a walkthrough of how to set that up. It doesn't have authentication or any advanced or any security features, so you may want to figure out what exactly you want for safety reasons there. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. If we go to Preview, Open App Preview Portal, this will pull up your option for previewing. So we're going to click on Get Shredded. And then this may look very large. I want to let you know this is not the Android or iOS view. If you're interested, you can actually right-click and you can click on Inspect. Now, once you select this, although this may be a little scary, if you don't know, you have the option up here to choose different viewing options. So right here, we're in the developer console. What this does is if you select this option here, if you ignore the code on the right, it's completely unnecessary for this. We're just viewing this as a device would. So if we want to view it like an iPhone X, here is the app, and then here's what people would see. And we can select this, and here's the 2-week shred plan that we just created. So you would create more content, add it in, and you can click here to go back to your home page. So far, everything looks good. We have pages set up. We just obviously need to populate that content. So everything's looking good so far. So really the only other thing to cover is navigation. If you want a navigation bar, so this is what appears on the top of the screen where it says Home, and the menu is enabled as well. And then current page name is what's going to be displayed. So if you want to add new items to the navigation menu, you simply select Add Item. And when you do that, you would select what the name of that tab is and the page that it goes to. And this will add new items down this menu here. So as you can see, you have all of the options. The app is loading as intended so far. So at this point, it's really just populating with your content. So do you want a different home page? Do you want to do fitness and nutrition? Whatever the case is, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to leave this all to you at this point, and if you're done with your app and you got to the point where you're ready to go ahead and publish, I'm going to put a link in the description. So I'm going to have several. The first is to the first video in the playlist that I created. It's step-by-step on how to create a social/sharing app. The next link I'm going to put in the description is going to be how to publish your app to Google Play. The Apple App Store has a lot more security and more hoops that you have to jump through. So if you're interested in doing that, there are other videos and resources online. I just don't really have the need to do that at this point. Now, if you have any questions, check out those links first. There's a ton of detail. I walk through low storage options, using databases, how to create something with more of a social element. It's not going to be as effective as using an app like maybe Facebook or Instagram or whatever popular applications are out there, but it is going to give you an option to add a little bit of a cool element for people to share in a community. And again, this is all completely free. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below. Let me know what you're working on, and if you have any ideas for videos I should start next, feel free to drop those down below as well. And then when you're done with your application, check out the video in the description for publishing to the Google Play Store. And then as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. I'll see you all in the next video.